Lori Vallow Daybell. Life After Sentencing, Part 1, July 31st, 2023. The courtroom fell silent as Judge Stephen Boyce prepared to announce a sentence that would erase any possibility of freedom from Lori Vallow Daybell's future. When he finished speaking, there was no uncertainty. She would spend the rest of her life in prison. No parole, no release, no second chance. For many people, that moment marked the end of one of America's most disturbing criminal cases. In reality, it was the beginning of something far different. Because once the courtroom doors closed, Lori entered a punishment that would continue every hour of every day for the remainder of her life. Judge Boyce ensured that outcome by ordering each sentence to run consecutively, not at the same time. Each victim carried its own penalty. One sentence for 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow, another for 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, another for Tammy Daybell. Every life lost meant another lifetime behind bars. Looking directly at Lori, the judge described her choices as among the darkest imaginable, telling her she had followed a path of extraordinary cruelty and destruction. Around the courtroom, family members struggled to hold back tears. Some quietly cried. Others stared at the woman whose actions had forever changed their lives. Yet Lori's reaction stunned nearly everyone present. Instead of expressing remorse, she insisted that God understood the truth. She suggested the deaths had been misunderstood and portrayed herself as someone caught in circumstances others failed to comprehend. To many observers, her words reflected a striking disconnect between the overwhelming evidence presented during trial and the reality she continued to describe. Whether driven by deeply held beliefs or something else entirely, she showed little indication that she accepted responsibility for the crimes the jury had found proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That moment became one of the defining images of the sentencing hearing, not simply because of the punishment imposed, but because of the complete contrast between the grief surrounding her and the calm certainty with which she continued defending herself. Less than 24 hours later, Lori's life changed forever. She arrived at the Pocatello Women's Correctional Center in Idaho to begin serving multiple life sentences. The transition from national headlines to prison routine happened almost instantly. The woman who had once traveled freely, attended family gatherings, and built a life centered around relationships, now entered a world governed entirely by locked doors, security procedures, and institutional schedules. Every movement would now be controlled, every meal scheduled, every visitor monitored. Freedom had disappeared completely. For prisoners serving life without parole, time begins to feel different. There are no release dates to count toward, no future plans to make, no opportunity to earn another chance. The years no longer move toward freedom. They simply accumulate. Every birthday becomes another reminder that life continues outside while remaining frozen inside prison walls. Unlike inmates awaiting execution, whose cases revolve around a specific future date, prisoners serving permanent life sentences often confront something psychologically different. An endless series of ordinary days. Wake up, stand for count, eat, work, return to the housing unit. Repeat, again and again and again. For Lori Vallow Daybell, this routine became her new reality. Initially housed within Idaho's correctional system, she entered an environment where many inmates already knew exactly who she was. High-profile cases rarely remain anonymous inside prison. News travels quickly. Some crimes carry greater stigma than others, and offenses involving children often draw especially strong reactions among incarcerated populations. Correctional staff must constantly balance institutional safety with inmate security. That reality would eventually shape where Lori could be housed and how closely officials monitor her. But before long, another chapter of her legal troubles began. Arizona authorities sought her return to face additional charges connected to the death of Charles Vallow and an alleged conspiracy involving Brandon Boudreaux. Although she was already serving life sentences in Idaho, prosecutors were determined to continue pursuing accountability for those remaining allegations. She was transferred under tight security. Unlike ordinary detainees, officials recognized that her notoriety required additional precautions. The allegations surrounding her case had attracted national attention, and prison administrators understood the potential risks that accompanied housing someone so widely known. As a result, periods of protective housing and increased isolation became part of her incarceration. For many inmates, isolation offers physical protection. Psychologically, however, it often comes at an enormous cost. Hours pass in silence. Human interaction becomes limited. The outside world feels increasingly distant. Even simple conversations become rare. Over time, days blend together until routine replaces any meaningful sense of time. Yet despite years of investigations, convictions, and overwhelming public scrutiny, Lori continued insisting she had been misunderstood. That position became even more visible during later court proceedings, where she made one of the most surprising decisions of her legal journey. She chose to represent herself. Without an attorney speaking on her behalf, Lori questioned witnesses, challenged prosecutors, and attempted to persuade jurors that the state's case was flawed. It was an extraordinary strategy, given the complexity of the proceedings. Throughout the trial, judges repeatedly corrected legal misunderstandings and addressed procedural issues as she attempted to navigate the courtroom without professional representation. Ultimately, the jury rejected her arguments. They returned guilty verdicts. Additional life sentences followed. With every conviction, the possibility of ever leaving prison became even more remote. Today, Lori Vallow Daybell's existence bears little resemblance to the life she once lived. Instead of vacations, family celebrations, and personal freedom, her days are defined by institutional schedules, security procedures, and the certainty that prison will remain her home for the rest of her natural life. For most people, prison is difficult to imagine. For someone serving consecutive life sentences without parole, it becomes something even harder to comprehend. Not because of a single dramatic moment, but because of thousands of ordinary days that never truly change.